they spent 2 hours doing the assessment, but that's not all. There's another bit to it. There's this, what do we call it, a questionnaire or a survey, and I'm just like to know kind of what that is, and then maybe you could tell us what we learned from it.
So the questionnaire takes about 40 minutes. It asks students.
I hope they get a break in between. Do they get a coffee break?
Yes,
Okay.
they do get.
Good.
They do get breaks in between.
Okay.
And this is a really critical thing for them to answer.
Yeah.
So for the test to count, they have to take part in the questionnaire, and it's a real opportunity for students to tell us about their home life, their school life.
And it's all anonymous. I should remind people that it's...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, completely anonymous. Your name's not attached to anything at all. And we don't get any data on which schools. It's all at a national level.
Okay.
But it's a real chance for students to say what life is like in the classroom. You know, are the teachers inspiring? Are they supportive? And all our data says that they are. And it's about their attitudes towards things like creativity and science, and what they think about maths and themselves doing maths, and what they want to do for the future. So there's so much detail in there, and we can link that back to how well they do in the assessment to really understand, you know, what characteristics and experiences really support, you know, well-being and attainment as well.
See, to my mind, that's as important, if not more important, than the main assessment. I mean, actually finding out the context of all this, like what schools like, and things like support, teacher support, and parental support, and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
That's all vital, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just as important as the test, and they kind of work hand in hand, because you can link, you know, how well the pupil's doing, what they know, their knowledge, their skills, with their attitudes. Yeah. You know, so do they do better in science because they're positive about their learning, about their teachers, about their future in terms of learning, or being in a science subject?
Yeah, I mean, presumably it's no good to be brilliant at science, but then actually hate science.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, do you get things like that? I mean, do you get kind of interesting patterns that you can start to see about people's attitudes towards it in comparison to how well they do in a subject?
Yeah, we can certainly look at those links, and we find the more positive a student is about, you know, subject, the better they tend to do, and that applies for students that have, you know, roughly the same backgrounds, but they have a more positive view and they tend to do better.
One thing I saw was how good Scotland is at teacher support, how good the teaching system is.
That's something that consistently comes through sort of year on year, that pupils are positive about their teachers in terms of, you know, providing support when needed, being enthusiastic, being knowledgeable, and the more pupils, you know, feel that way, the better they tend to do in PISA as well, and the more positive they are about schools. So certainly there's a strong link and a really positive response from pupils about their teachers.
So why is the survey such an important thing, do you think?
For students, it's really important to have a chance to have their voice heard. So their experiences, their attitudes, how they feel about, you know, life in the classroom, and that, you know, goes up to Scottish Government, to, you know, to the OECD, and it helps us to learn about how we can improve the education system. So it's a real opportunity to feed into that. At the school level, the head teacher will undertake a survey as well.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And you can compare that with, you know, pupils' responses. So it's been really interesting to compare those two, to link those two, to understand, you know, what the head teacher feels is happening in the schools and how that's supporting pupils.
What do head teachers think at the moment? I'm curious now what the kind of mood is of head teachers. Is it a positive response?
Generally positive. They're positive about, you know, the workforce. They're positive about the, you know, materials that they have, and actually the head teachers that are in more deprived areas are more positive about their school and about the resources they have, which is positive, and it isn't the same across all countries. And other things we can take them that are there are a few issues that came up in the last PISA. So things like mobile phones. You know, head teachers thought that was more of an issue than before, and actually pupils felt it was more of a distraction. So, you know, there's kind of chiming between the two surveys that mobile phones was something we needed to look at. Equally on digital, we could look at the digital provision in schools and look at what the pupil experience of that was as well. And actually both were positive, but that gives us really good intelligence in terms of what digital or mobile phones look like in schools.
Could you use that data to then make decisions about mobile phone use at school? Could you say, right, we want to have a blanket ban of mobile phones in the classroom, and here's the data we've got that kind of backs that up.
But that kind of data has already been used in mobile phone guidance. So there's new Scottish Government guidance last year on mobile phone use to try empower schools to take the right choice for their school. And PISA data help back that up in terms of the types of sort of guidance that's provided to school and actions that they could take. So there's a sort of direct link between the two.
So do individual schools get their results back from the survey so they can actually do work on a individual level, as it were?
Yeah, so when the data is published internationally, we'll provide data back to the schools in terms of what their pupils said, completely anonymously, so they can't tell what students said what, but you can see in your school, these are the types of issues that pupils raised, whether it's home life or whether it's to around the school with friends, whether it's to in classroom, whether being put up by mobile phones, for example, and it gives schools a good opportunity to really understand, I suppose, how pupils are feeling about school and to adjust their policies and practices. So I think it's the questionnaire is powerful both at the school level and national and international as well.
I want to just quickly talk about the real positives that you've learned about Scottish education. Things like you mentioned reading, for example, really, really good. Young people understanding the value of science and particularly how science can help them in future careers, and also the support that teachers give as well. It seems like a real broad mix of positives that we know about.
Yes, there are a range of positives, both on the questionnaire and the assessment. In 2015, the last time science was the main domain, we had really positive views in terms of personal views on scientific literacy, but then science for the future as well, and science in the classroom. And compared to other countries, and with science being the main domain this time, it'd be really interesting to see how that's progressed in the last 10 years.
Well, I hope so, but also in terms of science in Scotland, I mean, Scotland really is kind of punching above its weight in science and in high tech, particularly the space industry. I know that there is so much opportunity there. It would be really good to see young people, well, and teachers as well, really understanding that and knowing that it's out there.
Yeah, Scotland has a long history in the sciences across a range of topics, and we look to really understand how young people are feeling about science now, about their identity in terms of science, their sort of knowledge and confidence in it. So I think that this will be really crucial to understanding that.
Yeah. Does that survey tell us about things like student well-being, like how happy students are at school, how comfortable they feel, which is obviously going to have effects on how well they do?
Yeah, there's a huge range of measures and questions around sort of well-being and happiness in school. One of the key ones is a sense of belonging in school. So do you feel the school's for you? Do you feel that you belong there? And actually Scotland comes out pretty well in that. There's other measures around life satisfaction, bullying, around discipline in the classrooms that really help us understand, how their sort of peer relationships as well. Ask about their friendship groups. So there's a real wealth of data around health and well-being that helps to shape our policies as well.
Yeah. Keith, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy PISA schedule to talk to me about all this. It's been absolutely fascinating. If people want to find out more, not just about PISA itself, but actually the data, look at the data and see what we're learning, where can they go?
I think the first step would be to look on the Scottish Government website. There's a Scotland's highlights on PISA reports for each assessment, and that will give you an overview of Scotland's results. But if you want to do a deeper dive into the data, there's the OECD website, and they have a number of different publications that look into the international comparisons.
So for data nerds, that's where they go.
And for the absolute data nerds, there's open source data, so you can go on the OECD website and download all the data that's ever been produced on PISA.
This is what I'm going to do tonight.
Yes. It's probably too big for your computer.
Okay.
So I'd be selective. Yeah.
Okay.
But certainly, it's completely open source. It's for researchers to use.
Yeah.
For academics, educators to have a look, and we're open to questions around what we're seeing in Scotland.
Do you think decision makers in Scotland know how valuable this data set is?
I think in Scotland, I think the last set of results where we saw the impact of COVID's really instigated lots of action. for example, the curriculum improvement cycle, focused on maths first off, and I think that was in recognition that learning maths and teaching maths was quite difficult during the pandemic. So I think PISA influenced that, and I think across a range of things, in behaviour, mobile phone guidance, we've seen PISA data being really used. So I think there's a real value being placed on PISA data and making sure that it's used in the best way possible.
That's good to hear. Thank you so much. I'm going to continue my little PISA odyssey. We've got a couple more people to talk to.